Our next speaker, please. Our next speaker will be Patricia Ballantine. Last call for Patricia Ballantine. Moving on to the next speaker, please. Janina Skura, last call. Our next speaker then will be speaker number 31, Matthew Luskin, followed by speaker 32, Wanda Hopkins. Speaker number 34, please, Evangel Yanubian, and speaker 38, Alfred Rogers. Mr. Luskin.
Hi, my name is Matthew Luskin. I'm a parent at LaSalle and at Whitney Young High School. I'm a member and organizer with the Chicago Teachers Union as well. Like many parents at my children's schools, we reached out to my children's teachers, people I trust. I myself am not a teacher, for information, honest discussion, even advice around ISAT and the testing opt-outs that were going on. We needed to do this with the confusing information being given by CPS, with CEO Bird Bennett telling us that we had the right to opt out, and then all types of pressure and misinformation, regularly proven misleading in the press since then, being given to parents. It is disturbing to me, the witch hunt atmosphere that's been created since then, even at my child's school, where there was very little activity around this, where parents have been asked to name what teacher gave them an opt-out form or informed them of these rights. The idea that teachers are being threatened for teaching children whose parents requested that they be taught is absurd to me. So I, like many others today, call for no retaliation against these teachers and parents who decided to stand up around these issues. More critically, though, CEO Bird Bennett said earlier today that there were claims that this test was not required, and I've spent a lot of time with the parents and teachers who've been very active around this lately. I never heard that motivated as the reason why people were opting out of this test, never. In fact, what I heard over and over again had less to do with the pointlessness of the ISAT right now. That was really secondary. I heard people warn again and again about the use of the over-testing and high-stakes testing regime to be used in punitive ways to protect a set of policies that allow exactly what we saw this past week with the announcement of turnarounds at Dvorak, McNair, and Gresham. This is exactly what people said these tests are used for, that they're used to justify policies that have cost us nearly half of the African-American educators in this system in 15 years. They said that these tests are used to segregate our students in the city. They said these tests are used to undermine LSCs and parent voice, that they're used to cover up the chronic undermining of our schools, especially in Black and Latino communities.
Mr.
And
Luskin.
what we see right now, I had the
Mr.
pleasure-
Luskin.
I will wrap up.
Thank
I
you.
had the pleasure yesterday of spending the day with Gresham parents and hearing from them about their school. And it was painful to listen to them talk about, this is a school that took in students from schools that were closed down last year, yet had resources cut this year. They lost their art teacher this year. They have no art, music, world language, and no librarian this year. They have such pride that their assistant principal attended the school, returned there, that their state representative taught at the school, but they're told the only way to repair their school is to get rid of everybody who's been that engaged in this
Thank you,
building.
Mr. Luskin.
Last year
Our
they were
next
threatened
speaker.
with close. I'm sorry, these folks were told that their school is going to be turned
Mr.
around.
Luskin.
Too late for them to even sign up to speak here. They had to speak to the wind outside in front of the building today. So
Our next speaker, please.
No retaliation against teachers at Salcedo and Drummond. Good afternoon, my name is Wanda Hopkins. I am a parent advocate and student advocate for children inside of the state of Illinois for 30 years. I'm a proud parent of a child who attends the best school in the city of Chicago, Whitney Young. I'm here today on two topics because of this craziness. The first is principals control under Title I. I've been told by the Title I department in LSC relations that the principal has the power to overrule parents after they've had a meeting, made a quorum, and made a vote. The board, you created what they call family engagement, but yet you disrespect parents by allowing this to occur. It is wrong. Board, do you really want parent involvement, or do you want someone to just say yes? My second topic is about this craziness of AUSL. The founder of AUSL is Mr. Koldyke. I was around 30 years ago, so I know the history of Mr. Thorndike. I was around for school reform. He was a chairman of the finance committee, in control of the money, because we had our first black mayor, Harold Washington, and they had a problem with him being in control. If Martin Luther King would be here, he would say, Ms. Zopp, Barbara Bennett, Ms. Hines, I'm ashamed of y'all. If this magic portion of this curriculum that Mr. Thorndike has put together, why is it the people in the witness protection box where we could save $2 million if he has the magic portion to educate little black girls and little black boys and little Hispanic girls and little Hispanic boys?
Ms. Hopkins.
Let's save that money and
Ms.
get you some
Hopkins.
furniture. I will complete. But I want to say this. Have anybody called Mr. Thorndike, and asked him why did the first AUS school close without any warning? Parents couldn't even apply for any magnet schools because they decided they had enough. We don't need any more AUSL. We need you all in the witness protection box, over $2 million, 10 or 20 of you all, to come up with a plan to educate our children and then let these schools be Chicago public schools. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Hopkins. Our next speaker, please, Evangel Yanubian.
Good afternoon. As educational leaders, as usual, I invite and encourage you to kick the K word habit. A kid is a goat, an animal beast. A child is a human being person with inalienable rights to be called boys and girls, males and females. May 17th, 2014, will mark the 60th anniversary of the Brown versus Board of Education Supreme Court decision. It ruled Negro black children had suffered so much heart, self-esteem, and mind, psychological, and academic damage under unjust laws of segregation, Jim Crow, genocide, that it was doubtful that they would ever overcome it. No counseling, remedy, or reparations of any kind was ever offered to heal that irreparable harm. Those 6-year-old children are now 66-year-old senior citizens, and the untreated damage has been passed on for 4 generations, resulting in the educational crisis, violence, and poverty problems that plague us as a people today. I have 2 questions for Ms. Bird Bennett. Question 1, in your recent Black History Study curriculum, does it cover the historic impact of the Brown versus Board of Education decision from the standpoint of the survivors of unjust laws of segregation, Jim Crow genocides, point of view and experience? Why or why not? Would you like for me to repeat the question, Ms. Bird Bennett?
No, actually, I'm writing your name down so I can get the information to you.
Oh, okay, thank you, I appreciate that. Question number 2.
Ms. Yanubian, excuse me. Ms.
Thank-
Yanubian, can you please conclude?
Yes, in
Thank you.
conclusion, my question number 2 was, is there a procedure or cost to get a copy of your Black History Study curriculum? By the way, I commend you very much on implementing that.
Thank you, Ms. Yanubian.
We'll get it to you.
Thank you.
Mr. President, at this time, I'm going to call Rosemary Vega. She wasn't in the chamber earlier when she was called. She will be followed by Speaker 38, Alfred Rogers, Speaker 39, Brian Kareff, Speaker 40, Christopher Ball.
If you wouldn't mind. She's actually technically before you, Alfred. If you wouldn't mind, just sit right there. You're okay.
Ms. Vega?
Hello. I wanted to come and ask Barbara Burt Bennett for a request on extending my 2 minutes here today. Would that be possible?
Ma'am, I run the meeting. You have 2 minutes.
I'm sure that's very complicated. Well, anyways, my second request is, can our parent voice be respected? Can we be respected as parents? I opted my children out of ISAT testings, and the teachers get in trouble for it. So what you're saying is you're making all these assumptions that teacher gave parents and all these other, anyways. You shouldn't punish teachers for standing up for our children. They're the ones who know what's going on in the classroom. And Barbara Burt Bennett, you were the one who said we can opt out of this. You sent the letters home and you said we can opt out. So why would you hold teachers responsible for parents acting on the letter you sent home? They're not telling us what to do. We're actually acting on our own. And we will wish if you can respect that. You tell us to reach out to you and you give us 2 minutes. I can't tell you what we need in 2 minutes. We can't tell you. When are you going to give us the respect as parents? You came to Chicago, you swept through, you closed our schools, you didn't extend any help or any type of support to our students. My kids have been in their school at Lafayette forever, never been moved, disrupted. You came, you did that. You didn't extend no help. You said the building was not useful. It needed lots of money to repair. Now you're gonna let Shy Arts move there? A charter? Oh, what are you gonna say? Shy Arts is not a charter? Private, charter, whatever it is, it all sounds the same. Ching, 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 money, money, money. You take my kids out of there to put another music school there. How fair is that for my students? How do I explain that to my kids? That the school wasn't good enough for them, but it's
Thank you,
good
Ms.
enough for
Vega.
Southsiders and for outsiders,
Ms.
for
Vega, thank
anybody
you.
else. Why do you break our communities and expect us to
Our
sit
next speaker,
still?
please.
Why? And then you're giving all these crazy
Ms.
tests.
Vega,
My
thank
kids-
you. Our next speaker, please.
I need more than 2 minutes. As a mother, I'm asking you for more than 2 minutes. Barbara Burt Bennett,
Sherry, get a
I'm
contact.
asking you for 2 minutes. 2 minutes of your time.
Our next speaker, please. Speaker 38, Alfred Rogers.
That's her mother. Good afternoon, Chair David Vitale and all present. I want to share a situational problem regarding LSE elections. What is the problem? Candidates don't put their address on their form. Some do, some don't. It is clearly posted in schools when you bring your child to attend the school. There is you must bring proof as to where you reside with your current address. The person should be given back the form until the address is stated. We, the public, know what happened when papers were not filled out and shared with the other team in the Curry High School situation basketball program. Let's follow the rules all of the time, not only when that hurts the children. Thank you.
Thank you, Alfred.
Our next speaker, please, Brian Kareff.
Hello. Hi, my name is Brian Cariff. Nice to see you all here today. I have 3 kids at Suter Montessori, where I serve on the local school council. My oldest son is a junior at Westinghouse, and I'm here today representing Westinghouse. I'm really happy with the school. There's a lot of different programs. There's Chinese language program, there's drama classes. They have during and after school. It's home to an engineering club and a STEM club. My concerns are with all the budget cuts this year, all these great programs that Westinghouse offers are going to be at risk of being scaled back, at risk of being eliminated. We need an increase in per pupil funding for all students across the city. It's one love here. The future of Westinghouse and the future of kids in Chicago, from Austin all the way to Suter, United Center, depends on your investment in our schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cariff. Our next speaker, please. Speaker 40, Christopher Ball.
Hello, members of the board. I'm here wearing two hats. One is on behalf of More Than a Score, the parents, teachers, and concerned others in Chicago who are opposed to the overuse and misuse of standardized tests in the school system. But I'm here to talk about a different point. We did sponsor the boycott. You're welcome. We have profound concerns over how the Northwest Evaluation Association measures of academic progress test, the MAP, will be conducted this spring. For students in grades 3, 6, and 8, their percentile rank on the test will determine whether they are promoted to the next grade level, regardless of their grades other than an F. So you could get all A's, but if you don't get the right percentile rank, you don't get promoted for some reason. Now, the Northwest Association didn't design the test for this purpose, doesn't recommend its use for this purpose. The use of this violates several of the American Psychological Association standards for educational and psychological testing. But in the past, the MAP was not a high-stakes test. All right, this year, this spring, it will be a high-stakes test for a variety of reasons, but the main one being the students graduating, students moving up from grade 6, 3, and 8. But leaving aside our concerns over whether the test is valid, we have an ongoing discussion with some of your officials about this. There have been a serious technical problems with the administration of the MAP in before this spring. What happens is the test is taken on computer, and also, in most cases where it's administered in CPS, it also requires a internet connection to the Northwest Evaluation Association servers.
Mr. Ball?
Yeah.
Excuse me, can you please conclude?
Sure.
Thank you.
So what's happened in a few cases, or actually many cases, the operating system of the computer the student's taking crashes, a connection between the computer and the NWA servers goes down, all right? They're unable to find the student's test in the NWA server again. They have to reboot the operating system. This happens to students when they are sometimes more than halfway through the test. So what we're wondering is what provisions are going to be made for students in grades 3, 6, and 8, all right, when their test is interrupted in this way. Will they be forced to resume the test right away, or will other accommodations be made? Thank you.
Dr. Barker, would you mind the gentleman who just spoke in a follow-up conversation with him? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our next speaker.
John will talk to you.
Thank you. Our next speaker then will be Speaker 41, Denise Delgado, followed by Speaker 42, Rosita Shatunda, 43, Francis Newman, 44, Alfonso Newman, 45, Daniel Lopez, and the last speaker, 46, Gloria Astorga.
Good afternoon. My name is Denise Delgado. I graduated from Noble Street College Prep in 2011. My sister graduated in 2007.
Miss, could I ask you to speak into the microphone?
Yes.
I can't hear you. Yeah, sorry.
My name is Denise Delgado. I graduated from Noble Street College Prep in 2011. My sister graduated in 2007, and my younger sister will graduate in 2015. Now my younger brother will hopefully graduate from Noble in 2023. Attending Noble has been the best decision my parents and I have made. My parents saw the immediate impact Noble had on my older sister from the commitment, discipline, and supportive environment they provided. The moment that you walk into Noble, college graduation is their goal, and that is where they will get you. The amount of time teachers put in after school just to make sure that everyone gets a one-on-one time is unbelievable. The dedication that Noble puts into their students is indescribable. From ACT prep, character development, AP courses, resume workshops, college fairs, college trips, summer programs, FAFSA workshops. The list is endless. But most importantly, the relationship they keep with their alumni once they enter college. We have an alumni coordinator that checks in on us and supports us through college. In high school, I interned at KPMG, a tax and services firm. The summer after my sophomore year, I attended a Summer of a Lifetime program at the University of Michigan and took mechanical engineering. My junior year, I was inducted in the National Honor Society. Noble helped me become a young professional before entering college. I stand before you today as a proud Noble alum and soon-to-be graduate of the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. I am joined by Noble alumni Roberto Alfaro from Chicago Bulls College Prep and Juan Munoz from Golder College Prep, who are two of 160 Noble students at the University of Illinois. We are on spring break, so don't worry, we're not missing class. I would like to thank you for all that you do for the children of Chicago and for all your support, even when it is not the easiest thing to do. Thank you.
Congratulations on your success.
Our next speaker, please. Speaker 42, Rosita Shatunda.
Good afternoon, board members. I was going to come here and talk about one of the issues with the CAC, but I'm going to bypass that because I want to talk about the human toll of what's going on, and hopefully we'll deal with the CAC issue later. It was very painful to sit out here and watch parents beg and cry and ask for some stability in their schools because these streets are very mean and their children's lives depend on what you do. And the stability, I thank God that my children were not caught up in this. Now my grandkids are in it, and I'm praying that they'll have some stability in their buildings. It was difficult to watch this. Being a parent, having 3 sons, knowing how important safety is. I can't even imagine sending my children out to schools where they don't know the teachers. Those teachers held my family together in difficult times. Those veterans worked with my children, and they're not there anymore. They helped them. I became a teacher because of the respect and the love that I had for those teachers. It's difficult to watch this nightmare occur in Chicago. This is our home. A lot of you are passing through. I was born here. It's a hard pill to take. I'm not going to talk about testing because I get infuriated when I hear that. In 2001, my school closed, and I remember looking at a teacher and saying, they're going to close all these schools due to these test scores. That was 12 years ago. And I often refer to that because I don't know if you saw 12 Years a Slave, but I did. And the part of it that really stuck in me, and I'm saying this to the whole community out there, you have not supported these black teachers. That's why they're all gone.
Ms.
12
Shatunda.
years ago.
Ms. Shatunda.
I'm going to conclude.
Thank you.
When Solomon was standing out there hanging, that's how we've been doing. We've been hanging on our tippy toes, trying to survive. And everybody else is walking around, and they don't see us. We've been the invisible group.
Thank you, Ms. Shatunda.
And nobody cared.
Thank you. Our
Thank you.
next speaker, please. Speaker 43, Francis Newman. Last call. Moving on to the next speaker, Alfonso Newman. Last call. Speaker 45, Daniel Lopez. Last call. And the last speaker, Speaker 46, Gloria Astorga. Last call. Mr. President, this concludes public participation.
Thank you, Madam Secretary, and thank all of you who spoke to us today and given us your comments. I would now like to ask my fellow board members if they have any reactions to what they've heard today that they'd like to put on the record, and then also give them the opportunity to ask any questions of the management regarding any of the issues that are on agenda for open item. So, anybody?
I have one comment.
Mahalia.
I just want to comment about the testing issue. And I understand, having had a challenge about Chicago Public Schools and being an educator in Chicago Public Schools, that I too felt that there were too much testing. going on. But I know that since Barbara Bird Bennett has been here, we have cut back on the number of tests. But I also want us to be very realistic, because of the parents that I hear, or the people or the teachers that say that there's too much testing, I wonder how many of them would opt out of the SAT or the ACT. Because realistically, you can't get into any college without it. So we really need to think about what we're asking and be a little bit more informed, and have the correct information when people come up to speak, because I know that the amount of tests that we're giving since Barbara Bird Bennett has come here and since I've been on the board has been cut back.
Thank you, Mahalia. Jesse?
Perhaps James could address this issue, but several folks said, why don't we just change our policy? And unfortunately, I don't believe, and I'm asking, it's our policy. It's state law that requires that the ISAT be implemented. And so, frankly, some of this discussion should have been directed to my former colleagues at the State Board of Education and the Illinois General Assembly, and not us. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, that's what my understanding was.
Yeah, Andy?
You forget, Jesse, that several people suggested that we just ignore the law. But I do think, Barbara, like on a lot of these heated topics, we get a lot of information here that's not factually accurate. It would be helpful to me to get an update on where we are with testing. You gave it to us once before, but just can we update it where we were, when you got here, what we've done, and what we're going to be giving going forward, just so we can have the clear lay of the land, so we can understand what exactly we are doing. Thank you.
I've said this before with respect to what Andy just talked about, but with respect to many of the things we hear, just because the speaker says it's true doesn't necessarily mean it's true. And that may be the way they feel about things, it may be the facts they think they have, but that doesn't make them actually the facts. So from time to time, it's probably necessary for us to correct some of what gets on the record here, just to make sure that those who hear what's going on in these meetings don't think that what they hear is in fact the total truth. It's one side of the view of what's going on. So I can do that. In fact, there's one issue that was brought up indirectly a couple of times today, and more directly in the press this morning regarding the move of the central office from this building to another building. And I'd like to put it in a little bit of context to make sure that I believe we have publicly stated what our estimated savings would be from such a move, and so that those savings could be spent in schools. Barbara, could you have somebody respond to
Absolutely, Tim.
respond to that?
Yes, sir.
So, what have we said publicly about the savings that will go from this move? And I'm assuming it includes whatever was incorporated in the press stories this morning.
Yeah, the move of our central office from here to 1 North Dearborn is going to save, what we've reported is it will save us about $60 million over the next 15 years in lower occupancy cost.
Yeah. And is that an aggressive estimate, or is it a conservative estimate?
Actually conservative. We have some reason to believe that we could exceed that savings number. We'll fine-tune it as we finalize all the steps of the move.
And in the context of the move itself, I'm assuming, I don't know, but I assume there are certain standards that our landlord provided us for how we had to outfit where we're moving to.
Yeah, there are certain standards for that, and there were certain standards that we had to establish on how much space we were going to take and how many people we were going to put into that space. So the real standard was how we were going to consolidate and use less space per person.
Yeah. So the move actually will actually shrink the amount of space we use per person.
Yeah, we're actually
We
shrinking.
have fewer people and less space
We'll
per
have
person?
fewer people, and we will have a reduction of over 60% per person in the amount of space that we will be in. So it's so fewer people and less space per person.
Yeah. And I would take it that a lot of the material we have in this building won't accommodate that change?
Yeah, most of it won't. You wouldn't be able, because it's configured for a very spacious building, and so you wouldn't be able to accomplish what we're doing. You'd end up having to lease a lot more space to be able to do it, which would undermine the savings. I will say that the stuff from this building that can be reused, smaller conference tables, vertical files for stuff that we have to store, all of that will go over to the new offices. So anything that can be reused in the new configuration will be used.
And what will we do with the rest of the material in this building?
Anything that we're not taking to the new central office will first be evaluated for where it could be used in schools, first, always our top priority, and then secondly, other satellite offices that we have in various places around the city. So we'll look for how we can reuse it in our other facilities, and then we sell it.
So am I right to conclude that the investment that we're being asked to authorize today is critical to saving $60+ million over the next 10 or 15 years?
Yes, you can conclude that, and it is, you made the comment in your first question, it is included in that business case. So we save the $60 million after spending the money on the furniture and spending money to move and everything else. We still net out of all of that $60 million or more.
Sorry, the 60 million, Tim, was over what period of time?
15 years.
So we're realizing it over the next 15. Got it.
And this is a little tangential to the vote, but this was also raised in the press. Can you sort of comment quickly on the amount of cost savings that have been taken out of headquarters over the last, say, call it 2 years?
Yeah, we have, if you look at what we've done, just the headquarters, we've reduced the staff in the headquarters by about 300 positions, and we've squeezed the building costs as much as we could. Fewer trips through by custodians, we wash the windows a lot less frequently. We've squeezed almost $500,000 out through that. We don't pick up the trash every day, for example. So we've tried to optimize this building as much as we could, but the real savings, of course, is just fewer people. If you look across all of our operations, administration, central office staffing, we've saved hundreds of millions of dollars over the last 3 years, so about $700 million. But only a portion of that is actually central office reductions.
Other questions for Tim?
Dave,
Andy?
just on that, I'll get you. You raised your hand, gave us a document that kind of outlines, as is easy to do in our budget because it can be confusing, and picks things and goes, okay, here's this thing that was last year and this year, and here's this thing last year. And if you look at their document, they rebut what you just said. So I would just ask you, for my purposes, if you could just have somebody take a look at it and analyze it for me so that I can understand how that document fits into what you're saying, because I understand what you're saying and I know it's true, but it is, people are able to kind of pick things and goes, well, last year, this thing that's in central office, you spent this, and now you're spending this more. And I'd like to be able to just understand what they're saying versus what we know to be true, which is that we've cut the central office budget significantly. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Other questions for Tim? Other questions for anybody on the management, or any comments?
Hey,
about-
Yes,
Dave,
I do.
I do. After Carlos, I have two things.
Okay, go ahead, Carl.
You know, as we get ready for the April board meeting, I would like to have a detailed report on AUSL schools. You know, their length of time in schools and achievement growth compared to non-turnaround schools, as well as some information about suspensions and expulsions. Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, that's okay. Barb, you have all that data. Somebody will put that together. Andy?
I have two things. One's related to the public comments, and then the other is in the public agenda. So on the public comments, and this is for Phil, he's still here. There was a woman who came in and talked about the advancements to the advanced cash payments. The things she submitted, we have like 4 different forms that say different things, 2 of which were updated as of August that literally say, one says no cash advance, and the other one says, if you get a cash advance, do this. So she has some point, not shockingly, that there's a bunch of different forms floating around, but if you can take a look at it, here, you can have mine. And just, can we get clarity on what we're doing and how we're doing it, and make sure that we're all on the same page. The other thing I had was, we have something to procure around nursing services. And when you read the memo that we got on that, Barbara, it says that one of the reasons that we have to increase the cost for nursing services. There were two reasons that were given. One was that we're using the funds inefficiently, and that the other was that there were poor fiscal management of the program. I just want to make sure when we're approving, it wasn't abundantly clear to me that we've addressed those issues. So I just want to make sure, as we're approving increase in costs that are at least in part associated to our poor management of the money, that we've addressed those issues.
I'll make sure that we get together with Dr. Winston and Tim to tease that information out. It is totally poor projection, mismanagement, and failure to have the kind of oversight and accountability necessary to accurately project the nursing needs of our students. So we will tease that information out for you so that it really clearly states how we've addressed those issues as well.
Okay, and I have one last little question. We have a school name change. We have a school that's going to go from Hinton to Martin Luther King Jr. Academy for Social Justice. I just want to understand, when we pick a name like that's an iconic name, was there some process? We have a Martin Luther King High School. Is it just they got there first? They're the first people to ask? Only because it is Dr. King. It's as opposed to a local figure, or so. It's fine with me. I'm perfectly fine with that. I just, what I hate to have happen is some other school goes, we were going to ask for that name, but we didn't know. And
We actually have a King Elementary School as well.
Do we have another one?
Yes.
Okay, and we're so that was my other question. I kind of assumed we didn't, but perhaps I guess we're okay with multiple schools with the same name. I'm only asking because I don't know what the process was. I knew the parents at the school said that's what they wanted. That's fine. I'm just trying to understand what our process was, and it only popped up to me because it was Dr. King.
Let me investigate that, board members, out for you. I don't know the process. I'm just going to be very honest, and we need to find out what was used, and I'll check with staff folks to find out how.
Okay, thank you.
David, just one other thing. Could someone, not right now, on the staff though, get back to me on John Peckus? I read his information to see should he in fact be on do not hire list based on what he gave us.
I think, Alicia, did you talk to him?
We just talked with him and I'm
Okay.
researching it. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
And would you let Dr. Hines know your conclusion of that research, please?
Oh, Alicia, me too, please. Thanks.
And tell me again about Ames. I know we've been over it, but why are they becoming a military academy? I'm trying to remember.
Well, this is a process that the organization went through last year.
Okay.
And, it had the support of some elements of the community and the aldermen. There are other elements of the community and members of the Ames community that didn't want it to happen. And,
Okay.
James, did you have anything?
I just wanted to make a point on Board Member Zopp's question. There is a name-changing policy that vests initial responsibility for the names of schools in the community. There's a process that they follow, and they forwarded that request to central office. There is also an internal policy or practice that we have of vetting it. I can't tell you specifically who vetted this one, but there was some discussion about the fact that there would be at least two schools in the district by the name of King, and I can follow up with you on the central office.
If A, you tell me what the process is, and B, how we got to this conclusion, that'd be great. Thanks.
And just for what it's worth, I think it was Mr. Gowder who had a question about whether we were responsive to his FOIA request and other engagement. And I know, James, you've reached out to him again to help address that issue. But I think because, in fact, I did ask about this, that I know we've engaged him since the January meeting. So whether we've been able to solve his problem is a different issue, but it's not, at least I think you can confirm that we have not ignored him in this time period. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Other thoughts or comments?